And then video it so we can put on the police Facebook. So I think, marry you, it's the least you do. Go down. So tell us a little bit what's it like in Cowtown. You grew up in Woodstown?
Outside of Woodstown.
Okay. So how often did you go to Cowtown when you were in high school?
Probably been there 5 times.
What was it like? What do they do there?
Exactly what it
I'm
sounds
involved.
That's exactly what it sounds like. You guys get my balls riding around.
Chris, another talkative
Yeah.
policeman we're hiring.
You bring them up here, they get nervous. You should see them in the interview process, couldn't stop.
I do that. Chief, would you talk a little bit about the process and talk about Ethan for me, please?
Yeah, the process, when we started our recruitment selection, we opened it up to the entire state, looking for qualified candidates who not only had the necessary skills and abilities that we mandate from our officers that we're going to deploy to the public, but also they have to have an educational background, they have to have been through a police academy, and we had over 90 applicants for a couple positions. And Ethan started with us as a SLEO 2 officer, which is a part-time officer, and you've probably seen him outside the court, seen the community events, and he was our #1 choice by far.
So I see, Ethan, from your time in Sea Isle, did you ever run into either Cataldi, Angelo Cataldi, or Joe Flacco while you were down there in the mean streets of Sea Isle?
Angelo Vitale drove by me once.
I was just like a fan.
Give him a 610.
So, Shane, so your brother Kyle is lieutenant in U.S. Navy?
Yes.
Right. How old is he? Older or younger than you?
Yeah, 32.
Great. That's awesome. So, and your other brother Shane is in the police,
State police.
state police?
Yes.
Wow. So 3 in law enforcement, impressive. Okay, so we're going to need hold the Bible. You are? Okay, great. So let's do it like this. This is what I work. Here's what you're going to do. Stand like this. Okay? Okay, you're going to put your left hand on your heart. You're going to raise your right hand. Mom and Dad, I want you to take pictures there. There we go. Good. Why don't you pass it on this side? There's all the pictures. No, we don't see, we want you to be blocked off. I do dance, especially when it's kids. Okay, so any family members ready? Here we go. Okay, ready, Ethan? Okay. I, Ethan Hickman,
I, Ethan Hickman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties
all the duties
of the office of patrolman
of the office of patrolman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Get some pictures, okay, Chief? Chief.
Well, I know we're going to talk about this later.
Okay, we're good? All right, awesome. All right, congratulations.
Good job.
Sign over here.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations. It's outlined.
Okay? Okay, so unless you want to hear about Shop Burlington County, you guys are more than welcome to go now, okay? Because that's what's up next. See you guys, nice meeting you. Officers, I can't believe you guys are going to leave, considering the chief has to do his report next. Look at that. They're running out the door for your report, chief.
That's mine. Thank you.
I love that respect. Wow. All right, chief, you're up.
Okay, I submitted a couple proposals for the mayor and council to review. Regarding, I'll start off with the first proposal, which was to create a Craigslist safety zone where our citizens could feel comfortable enough to find a location where they can safely do transactions with strangers. A lot of police departments, what they're adopting is making it the department's, police department's headquarters parking lot or in the lobby, so people feel comfortable enough to meet strangers and to exchange property, so they don't have the fear of being robbed, assaulted, or taken advantage of. There's been several incidents across the country where people have been killed, have been robbed, and we get routine phone calls from people asking if it's okay to utilize our facilities to do it safely, because we have state-of-the-art surveillance outside, police cars, and we have good police presence that people feel comfortable doing the transaction.
So without giving away everything that's under surveillance, you're comfortable that we can see?
Yes. The entire facility is under surveillance.
Great.
Parking lot included, and we think it's doesn't cost anything, and it's a good service that we provide our in return. I just wanted the approval before we went forward, and the manager suggested I bring it up today.
Council, how about any comments moving up and down the line? Any comments?
No, great idea, always. I think we would be in full support of being able to do that as the social media and those kinds of transactions take place. Yes, I agree, whether it's Craigslist or anything else, if there is a quote-unquote safe haven to be able to do that, great idea.
Bobby?
Well covered by my councilmate.
Steve, man? Good. Was that all of our?
I just have one more thing to go over.
Okay.
We've recently, over the past several years, we had 9 investigations into massage parlors, so-called massage parlors.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found out, they turned into be illicit activities where they were giving sexual favors in return, but offering the massage parlor as a front. This is an epidemic that's come across the state of New Jersey. Police departments are investigating these so-called establishments, and what they're finding out is when we did our investigations, when we met with all the Johns that were leaving, not one of them were all present. So we had these individuals coming from outside of our community to engage in these illegal activities. And in return, we were finding out a lot of citizens were complaining that, there's a lot of car traffic, there's people from Pennsylvania tags, and when we go inside these establishments, routinely you find out it's organized crime. There's an element of human trafficking, prostitution. There's health hazards, sexually transmitted diseases, MRSA, because they're not cleaning up the facilities. So what a lot of police departments have done is reward the good establishments, the massage envies, the hand stones. They're the ones that are all certified. They have all their certifications. If you're a masseuse, you have to go through health courses, you have to have records on file. And what we're looking to do is, with your permission, is to conduct research into establishing an ordinance regulating these massage parlors, because they're popping up all over the place.
Your Honor.
Opening, closing, opening, closing.
Question.
Sir?
Chief, how many do we have in town? I'm not familiar with.
Well,
How many?
without giving over active investigations.
Understood.
there-
High level.
Yes, there absolutely is establishments in town currently that we're still getting.
Where are they established? I mean, is it like part of a house? Or, business out of a house? Or,
Yeah, out of houses, they open up a shop in the strip mall, and they'll go month-to-month leases. And then once we arrest people, close them down, they'll go to the next town and open up a new lease. And how we're finding out is not only getting complaints from citizens, but you go on websites that are set up to exchange where to go, these social media sites, and our Marlton, New Jersey, one particular address keeps popping up as a place to go to get these illegal activities. So the best way to do it is to regulate them, so they forbid them when they come to town. I have to work with community development, and there's a lot of police departments, a lot of towns that have established ordinances.
Okay, two things. Are you saying that when they pop up, do they go to community development, pull out a permit for a quote-unquote business, and then convert the business into whatever this is?
In some instances, yes.
Really? Okay, all right, then secondly, you said there's ordinances out there?
There's plenty of ordinances that I would love to share with the solicitor to craft
Absolutely.
something for your review and determine if it meets the needs of our township. Because, again, it's people from outside our community.
That's a good thing.
Yes, it is.
But the ordinances that you want to establish deal with permitting and licensing, or with the other end?
The permitting, licensing, the inspecting, the health issues, they have to be up to code, so the health department would be
Prevent
involved.
this from happening.
Correct. So when they come into town and they go into Nancy's office with a permit, they have A through Z they have to meet, and what they do is they say, all right, we're not gonna come here, let's go somewhere else. And that's what we're trying to do, is to prevent them from coming. And the ones that are in town now, this gives us a legal arm to push them out.
Understood.
And the good ones, they'll be on board, because they're already doing it. It won't affect them at all to establish a massage policy.
Councilman Deanna had a question. You have something?
Chief, I hate to start on a negative note, given the incredible performance of your force, but it's been brought to my...
In my first year as mayor, I had to go to 3 funerals of our local kids under age 19 who were killed in traffic accidents. And when you get elected to a position as a councilman or a mayor, they don't quite say, listen, one of the jobs you're going to have to do is go to a funeral of a 17-year-old. Say got killed in a car accident. So when this council put over the last 6, 7, 8 years of energy to continue to make sure the health, welfare, and safety of this town was its priority, to enforce, to create. The cell phone law alone, if I might continue to remind people, was put on by the New Jersey legislature for a minimum $250 fine and a mandatory court. It's not something this council did. And you don't get to go in there in your room and say, hey guys, are we going to enforce this week? Are we going to enforce this next week? No, we enforce it every day. And if you're going to drive in Marlton and be on your cell phone, and you're going to text, you're going to drink and drive, you're going to drive with expired license, you're going to drive with expired registration, you're going to try to steal a car, we're going to get you. And I thought that was the message, which was fabulous, that you guys portrayed. And this is the force that we have continued to build. This council has put tens of thousands of dollars behind our #1 police department in order to do what? Make this town the safest place possible. That's what the policy decision makers have done, and not just the 4, 5 of us that are here. Even the ones prior to that sat up here. Same message. So if any of these talking heads are going to ridicule by what we're doing, my suggestion to you is this. Don't talk on your cell phone while you're driving through Evesham. Don't text while you're on your cell phone driving through Evesham. Don't drink and drive driving through Evesham. Because we're going to get you. And no one should have to go sit at a funeral of a 17-year-old boy. And no one should have to do what we've done here and put scoreboards up in names of young kids who had no meaning and right to their last breath should not have been on Route 70 and Maple Avenue. But the work that you guys have done in not having fatalities It's stellar, and it's magnificent, and I thought that the article that was in the Inquirer the other day about you guys, the premise of an idea, which was absolutely shell-shocked for somebody to even come up with an idea like that. But in order to enforce it, and the way you handled it, the judges handled it, the way the court has handled it, I'm very proud of the work that you and your staff and your leadership, because I know that when my 24-year-old is on the road, I feel safer at home knowing I got a better chance of getting him home today than I did 6, 7 years ago because of the work you guys did and continue to do. And I promise you, as long as I am mayor, I will try to spend every dollar I possibly can that Tom Shanahan and Tom Chernetsky permit us to spend to help you continue to monitor the activities of what is going on in our town. Because it's a lot easier to sell houses in a community that is the 5th safest in the state of New Jersey. It's a lot easier for people's values to go up when it's the 5th safest place to live in New Jersey. It's a lot easier when we reduced traffic accidents at the Malton Circle in 2008, 2009 with the elimination of that circle, which was one of the steps in the direction of where we are today. You guys have done fabulous. I'm proud of you, and I will stand on this desk continuing to spend every dollar we can to make you guys as more effective as we need to be. I'll stand on this dais saying we need police officers that are armed in every single school that we have to once again try to prevent anything from happening. And that's all we're doing every day. We're doing preventive measures out there to make sure that a tragedy doesn't happen. Because everybody that's sitting in front of me, and everybody that might watch this on YouTube or Google, wherever Warren decides to post it, has to understand, you don't want to be at that funeral for that next door neighbor that got T-boned at an intersection. Great job. I'm very proud of you.
Mayor?
Sir.
Mayor, I just want to, the gist of some of the articles and the complaints is based on a premise that it's a money grab by the township. And just to put that into perspective for the council and the residents, less than 3% of our overall revenues comes from the courts. And within that is mixed the cell phone fines with criminal summonses, every other sort of traffic, moving violation, accident, DUI, speeding, summons. That's all mixed in there. We don't keep track of what we collect from cell phone fines. We do understand, though, that it is extremely expensive to have 3 or 4 officers out on an accident scene at one time. And that's when so that was the other complaint, can they be doing something else? Well, as the chief documented, we avoided about 200 accidents. And that takes up a lot of manpower to handle an accident scene safely, to investigate it properly. So by enforcing it in a high accident zone, we actually free up our resources to do more police work out in the community.
Have any of you ever driven, and in the crowd alone, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whoever you are, have you ever driven in Florida? Some of the small towns in Florida. Well, I travel for a living, as you guys know. And I travel to Gainesville, Florida, and areas of which not a lot of traffic is getting. There is a sign as you go into these smaller communities, and it says, if you go over 25 miles per hour, you will be given a ticket. It says it right there. And when you go from Orlando to Gainesville, and in between there's about 9 communities, which says, here's a sign. You go 26, don't complain. And there's, I'll tell you, no matter the last 4 years I've traveled back and forth to Gainesville, there is a trooper, just like that. He's got his radar gun. We are saying to you, don't drive with your cell phone. Don't drive drunk. Don't drive with suspended licenses, because we're going to pull you over and ticket you. It's that simple. We've said it. It was on the cover of the Inquirer. You were on Fox News. You look very good on Fox News, by the way. Was that dude just holding like the camera out like this, or did he have a cameraman?
It was on a stand.
Look, he was walking with a stick with it on. So, we've said it. Okay? Good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
May I
Sure.
don't want to leave any false impression.
Sure.
For Dubravka and Zane and any other members of the media, please don't say that I admonished our chief of police and his staff. It was just to get your attention and to start the dialogue. So I meant no disrespect, and I meant neither disrespect nor criticism to the chief and his staff. No, it was to set you up for a compliment and praise that you so well deserve. So, media folks, please, it was a setup. Hey, I even caught my councilmate.
These days, you have to clarify.
Well, I'm trying, Mr. Mayor, and I'm also not embarrassed to tell the folks that my daughter is an English professor, and she rips me apart for the way I speak. So I'm trying to be more conscious about that, especially in light of some of the media coverage we get, which I will cover in some detail later. So get your pens and pencils and papers ready, because you're going to have some real interesting quotes tonight, and you better get them right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right,
Thank
Chief,
you,
you done?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, good, thanks.
Mayor, if I may introduce the next speaker.
Yep.
Before I do, let me just indicate that this topic is something that was very dear and important to Councilwoman Hackman. Unfortunately, last minute, she had a family emergency come up and couldn't make the meeting. But I do want to give credit to the fact that she has been urging us to explore the next topic. And so coincidentally, David Weich from the Burlington County Bridge Commission in the Economic Development Department reached out to me because they were trying to promote an interesting program. I'll have you know that Mark Remza, the gentleman in charge of the department, and David, they're excellent planners. They scan the nation for best practices and then bring them forward to our communities. And he asked for a few minutes to be able to explain this program to us. So I was happy to invite him. I'm just sorry that Councilwoman Hackman's not here, because I know it's a great interest to her.
Thanks.
Mayor and Council, appreciate the time. Just as a background, as Tom said, I work for the Bridge Commission, which serves as the improvement authority for the county for economic development and regional planning. We assist all our municipalities in planning. We have bond refinancing, which has saved our municipalities millions of dollars. And we have a small business loan program that we share with the small business partners that we have. The Bridge Commission became the improvement authority because we use toll dollars, not tax dollars, and we invest that back into the communities. In 2012, we were directed by the freeholders to come up with a program to help small, independently owned businesses. It was a buy local program. In 2013, in June 2013, we launched Shop Burlington County First. It's a program designed for small businesses to help market themselves, to provide them with tools to compete with the big box stores. What we did, what we financed is we created a website, we designed it, we maintain it, and we provide marketing material for it. Why do we do that? Because research has shown that for every $10, if you spend $10 a month in a local business, it'll generate almost $20 million a year back into the local economy. And for every for every $100 that is spent at the local businesses, $44 to $83 of it goes back into the community in the way of supporting your local sports teams and your other organizations and things like that, more than your big box stores do. So what we created was this website. I just wanted to demonstrate this to you. It's shopburlingtoncounty.com. I gave council. This is the main page. And right here, we encourage you and your residents to pledge. All you do is you go on, you give us your name, and if you give us your address, we'll send you magnets. I gave you the refrigerator magnets, complimentary, but those obviously are going to cost you that. If you just give us your email address, every Monday, we highlight a local business. And we send out an email blast. This week's business is now up on the homepage. And then we send it out to 820 pledges that we have. they receive that email along with a community calendar of events that's going on in your community, all the communities, plus with the local partners. For a business, all you need to do is to become a member. You just click on here, fill it out, send us your information. The only requirement is that you belong, we have 15 local partners. These are the business associations that are members that have joined the program, have signed a memorandum of understanding with us. Marlton Business Association does belong. Excuse me. The other requirement is that the business accept Burlington bucks, and I will get into that. Once you become a member, you automatically get populated into the directory. This is a directory of businesses. You can sort by town. There are 20 in Marlton. We need to build that. You can search by category. We have 48 categories. You select it when you register. And if you click on the business, it will take you to that business's website. So you can get all their information, any coupons or special offers that they have. Plus it has their information on there. We have a calendar. This is a calendar of events that we update. We currently have 299 businesses in the directory. As I said, 20 of them are from Marlton. And then the Burlington Bucks. Burlington Bucks are simply, I don't know what they've been referred to as a gift card, but they're actually a cash card. They do not cost the businesses or the local partners anything. They're the same as cash. They come in $10 and $25 increments. If you, every business gets, when they sign up, they get a packet with a lot of the information that you had in there. But the Burlington Bucks, they're the same as cash. They make a great gift. We encourage our residents to purchase them, give them out for birthdays, any kind of holiday, or any thing like that. They're just like a credit card. I think I left them in my bag, but what you do is you present it to the business. Usually the same as cash. If you make a purchase for $25, you give them a $10 card, you owe them $15. They contact us, we reimburse them the full amount of the card. They lose nothing. What it does is it encourages our residents to purchase them. You buy a $10 gift, a $10 Burlington Bucks card a month. You can only spend it in these 300 businesses or any business that registers, and you're supporting the local business. That's the only place you can use it. The business takes it, they get their money back, they lose nothing. It forces you to support your local business. We know other ways that we are supporting local businesses. I'll give you an example. I had to deliver some gift cards to the Marlton Business Association. I went to see Dave Scott in Laurel Oak Garden Center. I walked in, I saw that he had really nice split firewood. I bought a cord of firewood from him. These are the kind of things that this program is designed to make you walk in the door and support the local businesses. We had the frame shop on Route 70 called up, had heard about the program. They wanted to know, how can I join this? How can I take advantage of these tools? I said, you have to join the Marlton Business Association. They did. So it helps grow the associations. Now, why am I here talking to elected officials? What you can do to help support your local businesses, your local business association, is you can lead by example simply by going on and pledging. And again, all you do is, I gave you a form, you fill it out. I'll put it in for you. Or you can go onto the website, fill it out, give us your email address, whether it's home, business, and get your own, you'll get your weekly email about the business, and there's usually a special offer on there. We encourage you as a municipality to put the link to the website on your website so that your residents will see it. Encourage them to pledge and support the programs. We have one municipality, Medford, they make Burlington Bucks available at their municipal building through their tax office. The local business association purchased them. All they do is the tax office executes the transaction. The money comes in. It's no township money or anything. It's just if somebody wants to buy Burlington Bucks, they come in with a check or cash, and they can buy the bucks, and they know that they're there.
Your Honor,
Sure.
2 questions. One, what are the parameters for allowing, when you say local businesses, which I fully agree with, how do you avoid the national chains that may come in there, or do you? So for instance, we have and a number of these folks are also part of our MBA. So if the thought is to guide everybody to the true local businesses, how, do you kind of maneuver folks that instead of going to Carrabba's and stuff like that, they'll go to Allura? Allura is more local, Carrabba's is more national. Fleming's
It's a
national.
great question, and we don't exclude anybody.
Understood.
But we don't solicit or go after the chain or corporate businesses because they have to go through corporate to get approval to belong to the program.
Okay.
And to give you a perfect example, we had a Chick-fil-A in Del Rey was part of the program. We did not exclude them. They were part of the program for a year. We promoted them. We had them in the directory. Somebody came in with Burlington bucks because they found them in the directory. They went in. They called me up and said, we had somebody come in. We can't accept these. And I said, then if you can't accept them, the requirement is you belong to the business association, but you have to accept Burlington bucks. You can't be part of the program. She went and talked to another local business. They went to corporate, and corporate gave them approval. She called me back and said, okay, how do I get redeem the Burlington bucks? How do I get reimbursed? We just had 2 more come in.
Okay. So when you say the MBA signed up, which is great, and the MBA is more of a broker in this case, I just again want to understand, make sure the process is okay so that that situation doesn't get replicated.
And absolutely, and be perfectly honest, Marlton Business Association is a great example. They are a terrific business association. A great website, they support
Yes.
the businesses.
Agreed.
This program is only for about 15-20% of their members.
Okay. All right. So,
Panina, Fashions by Panina on Main Street, they're on our Facebook page 2-3 times a week.
okay, that's
They're
great.
always posting.
Next
And there's no
question.
cost to that.
Sure. No, that's good. Tom, you and I had talked in the past about shop Voorhees, and I had talked to the township manager over there. So I was asking you questions about the same or difference between the two, because I know they were trying to institute something like that. So the thought was, we want to do a shop Evesham. Obviously, I don't know if the merits are better at a grander scale at the county because of mass. But what are your thoughts from that perspective?
Well, we're researching this a little more in depth now, but just to give a general background, what happens is if a company agrees to be part of the program, we tell the resident, give them a card, and we have to make arrangements with the bank. They go to that business, have lunch or whatever, and a portion of the proceeds from the transaction is credited to their municipal property tax bill. So what we're trying to determine is how effective has that program been for them, what sort of hidden costs are there to the organization, and we're researching that right now.
Okay.
Dave, I don't know if you have more.
Yeah, actually, I met with the guy down at the League of Municipalities 2 years ago. We've been in touch. The decision internally has been that's not a direction our elected officials want to go because they don't feel that the businesses should bear the brunt of reducing the tax burden. And that's what it amounts to is you go.
Understood.
So that's pretty much like, so we have to pretty much back off of that concept.
Okay. I appreciate it.
I think for some residents, that are struggling, if they're going to spend their dollars anywhere, that they can do it locally, and it helps them out in some other expense, might be.
Well, you have to draft a financial impact on what does that do to our overall, financial situation. Maybe something we want to pilot as a possibility. I mean, obviously the former is could be a no-brainer to help out with, but the latter is something that we should take again serious look at.
We'll keep it on the agenda.
Okay.
I do want to mention, one things I did last year was the 15 local partners that we have, I polled them. I said, how much did you give back to your communities last year? And in In 2013, they gave back $157,000 in direct cash. That did not count support of all the events and your business association and different organizations do a lot for the community and running events and things like that. But these were scholarships to students. These were purchasing equipment for your police and your fire and things like that. So, what you can do is, one of the things that I'm asking you to do is coordinate your calendar of events. There are a lot of different organizations that sponsor events. Take a look at making sure that they're all coordinated on your calendar. I try to do that on our calendar. I know about events that are coming up, and I can't find them and put them on the calendar because I don't know who's sponsoring them on the website. So
Good advice.
it's something that would be a benefit to you, just to consider it to be a benefit to your residents. To ask your organizations, your nonprofits, to let you know, so that you can post that for their benefit. And again, if you can post the information about the program, again, it's free for residents, it's free for your businesses, and it supports the local business association.
Anything else? Good, thanks. Steve, anything else? Good. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chief, you staying for the whole meeting?
This is the one about the soccer fields.
Give another presentation?
Ben?
Oh. Work session. These for the BCT football team, that's how far back we go. They used to write for the BCT when I was a football chair in 83, 84. Hey Dave, were you in were you covering the football BCT when Zuli was playing?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
So you started the paper in the 50s?
Our sports.
Is Zuli just not the most dominant defensive tackle you've ever seen in your entire life?
You got the kid.
Blue. No, he's not.
Mayor, a few weeks back when we did our road program, we were
I
talking
could throw you a bone, you know? That's what I could say.
We were talking about Willow Bend and the need to do some improvements there, particularly in the area of the sidewalks.
Uh-huh.
At which point council expressed concern about losing the character that the trees provide along Willow Bend and what sort of options we can look at. So Tim's done some research, so is Nancy, and they're going to have some options for you to consider tonight.
Great. Timmy?
Hey, thanks, Mayor. As Tom mentioned, council had asked us a few weeks ago to look at the trees along Willow Bend Road. As part of the resurfacing of the roadway, we were responsible for the curb, the sidewalk, driveway aprons, handicap ramps, and the trees. So if there's any deficiency there, we look to correct it at that time. Important for council to understand that this inspection was done by our landscape architect, our horticulturalist, folks that deal with trees for a living, not an engineer who's essentially designing the road. What that landscape architect is identifying is, how the trees are impacting the sidewalk, how they're being constricted by the curb line, the lean of the tree. You'll see in some of these pictures the tree's actually leaning at some degree over top of the roadway. The condition of the branches, there's dead and dying branches, and we have overhead wires there, so the utility company actually comes in and has the right to maintain their wires, so they're actually pruning or trimming or just
Do they?
hacking. No, they do.
Okay, good.
So there's some damage to the trees due to those preventive maintenance items. From an engineering standpoint, we're looking at, again, like I mentioned, replacing curb, sidewalk, driveway aprons, handicap ramps, all things that, as a DOT standard, we need to address when resurfacing a road. If we keep trees and we maintain these standards, we're essentially cutting the roots of these trees and essentially impacting up to 3 sides of the tree. And of course, I don't think any tree would essentially remain in good standing after that work's done. A couple examples of pictures out in Willow Bend. The first one to the left is an example of guide rail where the tree is actually grown around the guide rail. In addition to the items I mentioned before, anytime we resurface a roadway, we're required to update the guide rail. That guide rail there would need to be improved as it does not meet current standard. Also, there's supposed to be a clearance between the guide rail and the back of any obstruction. So essentially that guide rail is protecting you from a tree. Here, if you would hit that guide rail, you're essentially hitting the tree, and that's not serving the purpose of the guide rail. Picture to the right, you can see the trees are overgrowing the sidewalk, heaving the sidewalk upwards of a few inches at that point. We have trees on the back side of the sidewalk, on the residential side, which are also causing damage and overgrowth. Picture to the left, this tree's obviously too large for the park strip, and again, pushing that sidewalk completely out of favor. If we were to replace that sidewalk, we would end up essentially cutting that tree root on the back side, cutting the roots on the front side of the curb, and probably compromising the tree in total.
Tim, how tall are these trees?
I'm sure some are 100 foot tall.
How long ago do you think they were planted?
I'm sorry?
How long ago do you think they were planted?
30, 50
Late 60s?
What do you think?
When the K section was built, 1960, yeah, I would say that's 1970.
Picture to the right, see what we mentioned before.
So what genius decided in the 60s and 70s that we were going to put 100-foot trees?
Mayor, I don't know if there was...
Unfortunately, that was replicated in all developments back then, too.
I don't know if there were standards, at that time to dictate what trees were actually planted in that area. We do have some standards or guidelines now that I could share with you, but obviously the area in which these trees were planted are not sufficient for the size of the tree.
You think?
It's obvious. Just another important information for council. We also have residential landscaping on the backside of the sidewalk. We believe that the right-of-way actually does extend past the back of the sidewalk a few feet, so there may be opportunity to move the sidewalk to create more room to plant shade trees, but there may also be some conflicts with, again, landscaping or fences that may need to be considered when we make that decision. All in all, 33 trees on the north side of the road, 60 trees on the south side of the road at risk.
Which side is the north side? Is that St. Joan of Arc side or is it the K section side?
K
K
section.
section.
So all in all, 93 trees that are at risk with this project.
Whoa. Sorry, Your Honor.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Nancy?
I was going to say, and part of that reflection on the number of trees on the north side are the fact that a lot of them came out with Tom Cole's group with Hurricane Sandy, I believe it was. So there are a lot of trees that are missing from that area now. And I believe in the original estimate that Tom and Tim prepared for Willow Bend included from Main Street, Willow Bend all the way to Tomlinson Mill, correct? And then Tomlinson Mill is also part of the package from Willow Bend / South Elmwood to the Parkway. And then, as Tim said, one of the things we were looking at as an option to present to council would be the possibility of moving the sidewalk further toward the right-of-way line, which would allow a larger park strip for the trees to be planted in. And I believe Tim just gave you a list of some trees.
I apologize that this handout didn't make the presentation, but essentially we're dealing with about an area of 18 inches to 2 feet between the curb and the sidewalk as it exists now. This handout is from the State Shade Tree Federation, which gives some guidelines on essentially how large a tree you can plant within a certain area between the sidewalk and the curb. And the attachment to that basically groups it into 3 different groups, A, B, and C. Less than 30 inches, 30 to 48 inches, and over 48 inches. And then behind that are examples of trees that we planted in each group, which represents that width. Go back to you.
Nance?
Yes, so another thing I'd like the council to consider is, Tom Cole and I met recently with a representative from the Cross County Connection about Safe Routes to Schools program, and this area of the township really especially qualifies for that, since there's St. Jones, there's Jaggard, besides Cherokee, which they really don't consider a high school, and their safe routes, which is kind of silly. But you do have Marlton Middle and Marlton Elementary. So we believe in talking that the worst area where the trees are impacted are actually from Westcott towards St. Jones. And I did go out and look at that a little bit better before I said that. And it is true that that's the bulk of the trees are in that area. And again, part of that's because of the work that was done as a result of Hurricane Sandy, and a lot of those trees came out across from Cherokee. But for the most part, I would like the council to consider perhaps under the immediate work being proposed for Willow Bend, that it be from Westcott to Cherokee, Tomlinson Mill area, and then Tomlinson Mill, and to give us time to apply to Safe Routes to Schools for funding to fix the sidewalk and that area from Westcott towards St. Jones. When Tom and I met with them, we were giving an indication that there would be a good opportunity for us to qualify for funding in that way.
All right, so in summary, when you come out of Westcott and make the right on the Willow Bend, if we could immediately, as far as this current plan, repave from Willow Bend down to Tomlinson Mill in front of Cherokee, and make the right on Tomlinson Mill, and we'll repave from there down to the bypass, okay? With a low impact of any trees.
That would be lower impact.
Lower impact, okay? And then next year, apply for the 200, but also give us a lot more time to really make a decision of what we want to do with the trees. But as not to hold up where we want to go this year with, because Willow Bend and Tomlinson Mill in front of Cherokee just has to be done. Has to be done. So that was the thought that we had earlier, Councilman DeAndrew.
Okay, good, because I have a whole set of questions, sorry.
Sure.
Well, no, but I think you alleviated a lot of it by cutting this in half, in a sense. Because the question I would have is, if you're looking about 93 trees, big trees, the cost to uproot them during the process of repaving versus figuring out a way to deal with the sidewalks and put them a little bit in, I don't know what the cost differential is.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it's a significant cost impact to a project.
To uproot. I mean, again,
And you also have-
I was more inclined to wanting to keep all those shade trees there,
Sure.
understanding the situation. But I think the mayor just provided enlightenment, because I didn't realize that you were going to look to split it in half.
Right.
Now, if you're going to go the other way now, I'm going to make a right on Willow Bend from Westcott and go southbound. When you say minimal impact, are you looking at no impact to the trees or what?
I believe the north side of the roadway has trees that need to be addressed. I don't have that itemized or broken into that phasing,
Okay.
so I can provide that.
Well, it's something that we,
I think what it does,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think what it does, it allows us at least
time.
all the time, because we said it at the meeting, we really need to get, I want to get resident impact, the ones who live there, the actual houses are there. I want to get their thoughts and ideas. It'd probably be a pretty good idea for Tom to send a survey out to all the residents that are affected by that. And then, I don't want to rush through that, and then give us time to to possibly secure revenue.
Understood.
To do it. So, good, Nancy.
I was just gonna say that out Westcott to the left is where the picture that was up there earlier.
Sure, I've been over there.
Well, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
they have trees on both sides of the sidewalk and the road.
No doubt.
No,
So
understood.
that's where it's the worst impact, whereas to the right, they might just have one, and
Okay.
we might be able to save some.
Understood. Thank you.
And that's where it's most beautiful in the spring and summer, when everything blooms.
Tim, if we decide to modify this plan slightly, though, we still would like some input on some of these trees that can be safely grown in a very narrow planting strip. I'm going to go back to
Yeah, again, that,
There are some, even if we just do the one section, there still are some trees that are.
there's definitely
We still use
trees that we can plant that are appropriate for that size, and if we can move that sidewalk one way or another to gain a little bit of space, a foot or so, we could essentially plant a larger type tree. And again, those examples that are attached here are some that are recommended through New Jersey Shade Tree.
All right, great. Tim, when will we start? When will we send this thing out to bid and possibly start construction? Obviously, we only have a small window because I believe Cherokee, let me see, I think Jaggert's last day would be, I think Jaggert Middle School, it's like June 24th or, well, it depends on the snow day.
Mayor, I think we were targeting a construction start date of July 5, after the festivities there. If we back into a bid type date, that's close to the beginning of June, we need to be bid ready. And of course, you're still working towards your 2015 budget, so.
Can we, Tim, if we do a start date of July 5th, can we complete it by like mid to late August?
Yeah, I would anticipate a.
We do it in 45 days?
30 to 45 day contract period.
So we really have to marry ourselves, Tom. I mean, we can't like say we're going to start July 5th and start August 5th.
Right. So let us get back to you on the financial plan for that.
Because this will pretty much be our roads program for 2015, right?
Yeah, that's why it was important to get, we knew the trees were a concern, but we needed to get moving on it, which is why.
Yep. All right, good. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nance.
Thank you.
Okay, let me see, presentations, work session. Anybody in the public wishing to comment on an agenda item only, please step forward. Guys, we have ordinances. Okay, seeing there's none.
I don't know.
All right, we have first reading, I get 2 first reading ordinances.
3.
Great.
Good evening. My question is regarding your first reading of ordinance number 6-3-2015. That is the ordinance for the capital expense. You are going out to bond for $1.5 million for the turf fields. My question, and actually when you do your discussion, if you could do an overview basically about the open space program, how much money you guys each year we have for it. Because if you're going out for a bond, this is a 15-year bond, how much each year do we get from open space really to pay back the bond? And then my other question would be in terms of projects, how did this really come into play in terms of what project you chose to do this year with the open space money? You know, why not choose to pay back the bond, I guess, for the existing turf fields? Or to allocate it to the Indian Springs Golf Course to pay for the bond payment. So things like that. So if you could just talk about that, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wishing to comment on an agenda item, please step forward. Okay, seeing there's none. First ordinance reading. All right, I need a oh, go ahead. Start off, Mary Lou.
Ordinance number 6-3-2015. The public hearing will be March 17th. An ordinance of the Township of Evesham and the County of Burlington, New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements and related expenses in and for the Township appropriating $1 $1,500,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,425,000 in general improvement bonds or notes of the township to finance the same.
Excuse me, Mary Lou, what did you say the public hearing date was?
March 17th.
Okay. Thank you.
You are.
Okay. I need a motion to introduce ordinance 6-3-2015, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 6-3-2015.
With earliest public hearing on
On
3/17/15.
March 17th.
Okay, I need a second?
Second.
That will be the public hearing.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, motion and second. Mary Lou?
That's comment?
Sure.
I did. A couple things. Number one, I did write something up on this. So, before you start. As one of the 5 elected officials in Evesham, I want to offer my insights on this project. As you may or may not know, my affiliation with the Marlton Rec Council runs deep. Further, my affiliation and affinity with our soccer program runs deeper, since I have the fortune of being the soccer commissioner. My devotion to the town runs the deepest since I've lived here practically my entire life. I've been extremely active in youth sports for a long time. As a child playing soccer and baseball, to coaching my kids soccer, baseball, and softball. I've not been shy about my desire to add another turf field to the township's repertoire. Since the Marlton soccer program will see benefit with this initiative, the soccer program will have skin in the game with the creation of this initiative. More specifically, the soccer organization will have an official agreement with the township, investing in the project for approximately 25% of the overall cost in the form of an annual turf payment that we will do. In addition, we're going to establish a sponsorship program that will also help out with the overall investment of the program. A final element with the financial plan is a revenue component for the field rentals. For example, you may have read that Marlton Soccer has expanded its partnership with Philadelphia Union with their Summer Select soccer program. They wanted to get into New Jersey. They asked us if we would be their partner. The program will require the rental of fields that will generate at least $10,000 of revenue on an annual basis that will go directly for the turf payment. In addition, the field can be rented to other organizations for approximately, as we're working on the field fee schedule, it's roughly $120, $125 per hour. All of those organizations already have asked and looked for time on these fields. The sponsorships and the field rentals are expected, from my financial analysis, to account for an additional 25% of the initiative. A separate account is being established where the tracking can be specific on this project. So with this particular initiative, not only we're investing and having a relationship that you'll see the dollars and cents that would go directly into this account to help defray the cost of the payment. As you know, I performed a significant amount of due diligence on the Plain Dog Park, where my business case is expecting a zero impact to the community from a financial perspective due to grants, sponsorships, and donations. I performed the same process of due diligence in order to reduce the impact of this project to the community in a similar manner. So as things codify and we expect the actual project to be around the $1 million range, and based on the turf payment on a regular basis, we feel at least 50% or more will be cared for by non-township related from the open space funds and so forth. I will continue to look at my decisions with a financial and a strategic balance. And of course, please remember that the township receives 15 cents for every tax dollar, with 3 cents of that going into the open space fund. But without generating another full dissertation, if you want to discuss this topic, further offline, feel free to give me a call and we can talk about it more. But on the question now, which is part of my analysis, again, is the open space payment. I don't think we're there fully yet, but do you want to offer some insight?
Councilman, I'm not ready to,
Okay.
The Open Space Trust Fund is sort of very complex.
Understood.
Of our finances, so I'd like to prepare a report.
But the bottom line is the expectation for me is that at least half the payment would come from other sources outside of the township. So unlike, there may have been other projects that I've done in the past where there's no real skin in the game from whatever organization that does benefit from it. I thought on the flip side, this would be the right opportunity to do that.
The only thing I would note is to say we haven't designed this yet, and we still have some options that
Understood.
in
I know.
on, but we need to put the funding mechanism in place. All this is, it creates the authority to spend it. You don't actually spend it until you award a contract.
No, I understood. Thank you. I just wanted to at least make sure there was an understanding of the investment from other organizations.
Okay, any other comments?
Yes, sir.
All right, Mayor Lou, please poll the council.
Mr. DeAndrea.
Aye.
Mr. Deanna.
Aye.
Mr. Sewell.
Aye.
Mayor Brown.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Ordinance number 7-3-2015, public hearings for March 17th. Ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Code of the Township of Evesham entitled Post-Retirement Benefits.
Okay, I need a motion to introduce ordinance 7-3-2015, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve or to introduce ordinance number 7-3-2015 with a public hearing March 17th.
Need a second?
Second.
Comments?
Yes, sir.
Seeing there's none, Mary Lou, please poll the council.
Mr. DeAndrea.
Aye.
Mr. Deanna.
Aye.
Mr. Sewell.
Aye.
Mayor Brown.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Ordinance number 8-3-2015, an ordinance amending ordinance 31-9-2014, which adopted a redevelopment plan for certain properties known as 42 and 52 East Main Street, Block 4.09, Lot 11, 12, and 15.
There's been a lot of back and forth recently on some of the websites in town, specifically Evesham Township Town Talk, about the ability to ask a question and get an answer from council. I just want to present my take on this whole issue and how I've gotten involved in the township. My wife and I moved here in 1999, and when we moved here, we knew a few people, not many. And my son was already in college, my daughter was a senior in high school. So we didn't have that connection where you get to meet people through your kids, be involved in sports or clubs or whatever. And I didn't pay any attention to politics until 2007, when there was a new mayor and council elected. And people were saying that the council was doing this, the council was doing that. And I decided to come to a council meeting and see for myself. Well, that council consisted of, first Mayor Brown, Mike Schmidt, Debbie Sarcone, John McKenna, Chris Brown, a lot of personalities, a lot going on in that council, a lot of back and forth, a lot of dynamic. And it was interesting. Even though I was skeptical before I started going to meetings, I realized as I went through a few months that this new council had the best interest of the Evesham Township residents in mind. Specifically, fiscal responsibility, keeping taxes low, avoiding increasing taxes, and in doing that, maintaining services at the level that Evesham residents have come to enjoy and expect. Once people have good services, they expect them on an ongoing basis. So that's what I learned from that council. As time went on, I was already involved with Relay for Life. I happened to be speaking to a group of people, and I met Mayor Brown. We really didn't know each other. I really wasn't all that involved with I didn't know the extent of his involvement in bringing Relay for Life to Marlton, Evesham Township. But he told me that night to come to his office the next day and he would give me a check, a donation to Relay for Life. And we have been involved with the Relay for Life since that time. And the mayor and council have been very supportive. They've been involved in our event. And it's been a very important part of the Relay for Life. But during that time, I've been to a lot of meetings. I've heard a lot of public comment. Generally, the council does not answer questions that are raised during public comment. Those questions are answered either by the individual being referred to the township manager or the Department of Public Works, the chief of police, whoever might be involved in the person's issue. Or those questions are answered during council comments, but they're not answered during the public comment segment of the meeting. That's been my experience. I think that this council, the administration since 2007 has done a great job. I think they're open to the suggestions and concerns of the public, and I think they'll continue to be. We'll get beyond this current dialogue that's going on. I look forward to a lot of great work in the future from this council. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to comment, please step forward.
Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mills.
I see you got your picture in the paper today. That was nice.
How much are they?
I just wanted to clarify a couple of things that's been going around. I don't think the council has done a bad job myself, and I've never said that. And I've supported most of this council and when they ran for election. But I'm disappointed lately that it almost like the council is a rubber stamp. And the last time I came up and asked a question and I made a comment, the mayor chastised me, and I was disappointed that none of the council people interjected themselves or made any comment. And I think that we, regardless of what others say, I think we need to have an open meeting. I know that the council can't answer all of the questions, and I don't think anybody asked them to answer all of the questions. But on the other hand, I think if somebody comes to this meeting and has a question that can be answered, I don't see why it cannot be answered. And I think one of the reasons that it's kind of like muzzle job has been imposed is because the mayor loses his temper sometimes. And he goes off on a rant, and in order to protect him, I think that maybe Mr. Gillespie has come up with a solution, but I don't think it's a good solution. I think that when people come up, they should be allowed to ask a question, and that they should also receive an answer if it can be done. If they can't be, then refer them to somebody that can answer it. I've contacted the township manager on a number of occasions, and sometimes I get an answer that I like, sometimes I don't. But if you can't get the township manager to do anything, I think council is where you come to make your request. And where else can we go if the council won't respond to our request? Thank you.
Wishing to comment, please step forward.
Good afternoon. My name is Phil Warren, 357 Holly Road. There have been some interesting remarks by council members over the past few days. Things like the majority of the residents ask him, currently Mayor Brown, questions when they see him at the athletic field. Or they stop him at the local supermarket, or they email or call him. When someone has an issue, they come to my house, or again, Mayor Brown, pull me aside at ShopRite. They don't wait until council meetings. 99% of Evesham, if they have a question or comment, they contact us directly. Again, Mayor Brown. It's a public comment period, not public question and answer. Again, Mayor Brown. And this is absolutely being done to make the meetings more efficient. Again, Mayor Brown. Mr. Deanna said that if you have a question that hasn't been answered, I stick around after meetings. He also said, Lord knows residents have no compunction about stopping me and my wife at ShopRite or after church. Finally, maybe the really upsetting part would be Mr. Brown's comment that the residents who speak at the meetings usually try to turn into the expansion position. Mr. Deanna said that it appears some of the same residents approach the mayor in a manner which would be antagonistic rather than looking for an answer to a specific question. And that is what started this whole brouhaha. I think there's a misunderstanding about public comment and what's been going on here. Your constituents aren't just your friends, neighbors, or the residents who happen to know where you live and can approach you. They're not the people who go to your church or happen to see you at the supermarket. They're everybody. Not everybody recognizes you either. So to expect that they can just find you in public, seek you out, it's a reach. My kids are 3 and 1 years old. They don't participate in sports yet. Mr. DeAndre did point out they might have a soccer program, which would be great. I look forward to that for 3-year-olds. But otherwise, what athletic practices do you expect me having to see any of you at? What about the residents without children in sports? Are we really expected, do you really think it's okay to expect residents to seek you out around this town to ask questions? I live in the southernmost corner of town. It can be a long ways to go. It's very out of the way. It makes more sense to go shop in Berlin or Voorhees, where I live. I'm not going to go to your ShopRite unless I happen to be in the area. It's just not a reasonable expectation. I'm not going to wait outside of your church or your business and hunt you down. I don't think that's appropriate. And there are others like me. I think that public comment needs to be understood that it is as legitimate a form for asking questions and receiving answers at that time as emailing, calling, or speaking to you in public. It's a backwards idea to think that you can shut the public out when they ask questions about tax abatements, redevelopment, when they ask you about road conditions. This is what the forum is for. And it is your responsibility. And it's just, I'm sorry, I have things written down, I'm even at a loss for words just thinking about this. When a resident asks a question of you, it's not an attack, it's not personal, and it's not political. In full disclosure, I know that as of January, I became chair of our town's Democratic Committee. But the only other time I spoke up before February 17th, I had just lost an election by a pretty large landslide. And I came here as a resident, I made it clear, and asking about videotaping and transparency for these meetings. And Mr. Brown interrupted me pretty rudely and frequently and shot it down. Folks want the middle ground. They don't want the ranting and raving. They don't want the temper loss. They don't want to have to seek you out in public. They don't want silence. And they don't want you to disengage from them. They want honest, respectful, and substantive dialogue at council meetings. It's not a reach. It's not an unreasonable request. And frankly, I see it, even though I'm pretty idealistic, probably a little naive, I really see it as your duty as elected officials. So there's been a lot of things said, there's been a lot of news out there, and I just hope that you can find that middle ground, that reasonable answer to what's been going on, and this can end. I think all of you are great. Mr. Zulli is not saying anything bad about you guys, the rest of you, but Mr. Zulli is the only one who actually came to my house. I think it was 4 years ago, and he knocked on my door. I was a pretty new resident. And he asked for my vote, and I voted for him. And then I see that, you know, there's silence, and the council has adopted this policy, and that's really disappointing. Mr. DeAndre has talked to me privately. He's a great guy. Mr. Deanna has a great service record, commendable one. And I think that all 4 of you and Ms. Hackman really want to look best for this town. And I don't think anybody questions that. And certainly nobody questions our township employees and the great work they do. It's not why they come up here and ask questions. Sometimes they might be upset, sometimes they might be disappointed, but we're just doing our due diligence as citizens. It's not a one-way forum where we just ask a question and then sit back and wait for an answer later. This needs to be back and forth. This needs to be have a lot of follow-up questions and have a nice, polite conversation. And that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wishing to comment, please step forward.
Good afternoon, Council. Sharon Perdnoy-Schmidt, 305 Galvin Court. I have a quick note to read, that's pretty much it, and you guys do a great job. I know what it's like to sit up there. I had a spouse do it for many years. You work your tails off, and you don't get much in return for it. So I commend every day that you're here and that you're working for our residents, because that's what you're doing. I love it here, that's why I live here. My son's about to go into senior year of high school, my daughter's in college. This is where I chose to live, and this is where I choose to stay. Saying that, though, obviously we have an issue that's never come up before, because council has always answered questions. Mayor Tamboro has answered questions, mayor before him has answered questions, council's always answered questions. Or referred us to somebody who does answer questions. And like the last meeting, in response to Al, I know he spoke, I know all of you also, but one of the residents' questions wasn't answered. It wasn't referred to anybody for an answer. It was about the fields and how you came to your decision to make a turf field. It was never addressed. So not all the questions do get answered. So I'm just going to read my statement. If a member of the public asks a question in a public meeting, you should answer. The residents of our town elected you and pays your salary. If the question is potentially embarrassing, answer it anyway. If you think it's embarrassing now, just wait until you're forced to answer it after you tried to hide it from the public for 6 months. If the guy who wants to answer is a pest, answer anyway. The law doesn't distinguish between pests and people you like. If the guy who asks a question is a 19-year-old high school dropout with tattoos on his nostrils, answer anyway. You can't limit your responses to the residents who are able to approach you at a supermarket, outside of church, or your home. Open government isn't just for your friends, political allies, or professional reporters who work for daily newspapers or television stations. When our township solicitor says you don't have to answer on the record or respond during public comment, it's just a suggestion, not an obligation. Make sure you're making the right choice when you choose not to respond with a forthright answer. Dishonesty, evasion, and open record lawsuits can be expensive. If you believe that frank debates on big decisions should only occur in secret executive sessions, you belong in a corporate boardroom, not a public office. If you spend time contemplating ways to get around answering the public, you're not a public servant. Please find a different line of work. The people in delegating authority do not give their elected officials the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. Our council needs to remember who they serve. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Anybody else in the public wishing to comment? Please step forward. All right, seeing there's none, public comments closed. Do I have to be very nice to you now?
No, I think she would enjoy it if you sweat a little bit. I'm making her go to batting practice today. Two things. Just what is our practice, by the way, when residents comment about operational things. If the question is raised here, I always try to bring it back here. If it's answered in the office, we make you aware of it through our regular communications. But there was an issue raised about the leaks at the library, and there were, I just want to note that I was never aware of them. My predecessor may have been, but that just sort of got lost in the transition, and so for that I apologize. But we did look into it. This is the county library you're talking about? Yes. The one that has county employees in it every day? That one? Is that the one we're talking about? Okay. So there was two areas of concern. There was one area in the far corner where they have some plastic draped over some books. There was a leak there in the fall, which precipitated the plastic being put over the books. Speaking with the director, there really hasn't been a leak of that magnitude where anything's coming down into the area since then, because it was addressed somewhat. However, we did replace the tiles and noticed that there are some stains, so there was leakage happening. Today, we had a roofer come out and seal the seams, and hopefully that will address that area of the library. However, there is another area of the library over where the Friends sell the books to help offset costs. It actually looks like there's a little bit of damage there. So that's not something that we can just call out a roofer to come and fix. I think we have to investigate that a little bit more. And we're in the process of contacting a professional, and we will keep council informed of our progress on the library. Secondly, I do want to introduce a new employee with Gloria Racino's retirement last month. We reorganized the manager's office and the clerk's office. I no longer have an administrative assistant. What we have now is a management assistant. So I'd like to introduce Allie Bittner to the community. So please stand up. Allie is going to be a management assistant and analyst in our office. She is a graduate of Rutgers University in history and recently received her MPA, that's a Master's in Public Administration, with a concentration in city management from Villanova University.
Wow.
Welcome aboard, Allie.
Yeah.
And so she's doing some great work for us, particularly, again, getting back to the customer service area. One of her focuses is going to be on really exploiting the technology we've invested in. We're in the process of contacting a professional, and we will keep council informed of our progress on the library. Secondly, I do want to introduce a new employee with Gloria Racino's retirement last month. We reorganized the manager's office and the clerk's office. I no longer have an administrative assistant. What we have now is a management assistant, so I'd like to introduce Allie Bittner to the community. So please stand up. Allie is going to be a management assistant and analyst in our office. She is a graduate of Rutgers University in history and recently received her MPA, that's a Master's in Public Administration, with a concentration in city management from Villanova University.
Wow.
Welcome aboard, Allie.
Yeah.
Welcome, Allie.
And so she's doing some great work for us, particularly, again, getting back to the customer service area. One of her focuses is going to be on really exploiting the technology we've invested in over the years that haven't really maximized, such as the Ask Evesham system. And we're going to start pushing that again as a way of inventory tracking trends, and helping to guide recommendations for capital improvements and other investments and other changes. She's going to be working on a citizen survey, which we'll have a presentation for you on. She's already started research in some areas, such as the Voorhees purchasing program. And she will be handling Facebook and social media from a governmental perspective, highlighting some of the great employees we have here and what they do here. Just making residents aware of things they may not be aware of. So just like a little story, I feel like nobody knows this, right? So this week's story is going to be about the fact that the fire district, when it snows, has a crew of volunteers that accompany all calls with shovels to shovel out walkways and driveways so those families don't need to worry about that. And the gurneys can get in and out without trouble. I think most residents would not know that. So those are the sort of governmental things we're going to be highlighting on a weekly basis. And that's all for my report.
Okay, John, you got anything?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Okay. Kenny, you're up first.
Yes, sir. Yes, I do have some comments. Context. Such a simple word, but based on an individual's interpretation of a string of words, the meanings can vary. One's interpretation of a comment, text, or tweet is dependent on the receiver's frame of mind, their personality, their socioeconomic, political, and ethnic backgrounds, their relationship with the giver or sender of the message, and other such personal traits from both sides of the information. In addition, perhaps the story has left out pertinent information that provides more context. Multiple retellings of a story yield the concept of whisper down the lane, where once a story is told the first time, as you get to the umpteenth time, there's a drastic difference from the original. Everyone has a backstory, good, bad, or indifferent. It would be nice in the future if a given individual would not spew venom for whatever reason, or just because, without taking the time to understand either the whole picture or the backstory. Many individuals are quick to judge. There is merit in that old expression, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. People may be polar opposites on a number of topics. Lively debate is good as you stay, hopefully, true to your conviction. People can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that. However, spewing negative comments without understanding the context is not an endearing quality for any side. When one uses vinegar to state that the sky is blue and scientifically they are correct, the other side may say the sky is green just because. That person may not or never be open to hear another view. Their mind was already made up. Nothing one can do will change their mind. They may not get along, but I just wish they can respect one another. Passion is a good thing, but taken to an extreme, arrogance is not a good thing. With the concept of context as my base, I would like to provide insight with respect to customer service. I've been fortunate to have been involved with the township and the community in some form for over 25 years. Basically, as soon as I graduated from Lehigh University. I knew I wanted to live, marry, and raise my family here. I wanted to give back to the community that has given me much, that has provided an environment where I can excel. Many of the talks I've given up here or anywhere have been in the form of appreciation for allowing me to serve you. From being involved in the MRC as soccer commissioner, where in addition to leading one of the largest organizations in the state, the Sports Unity Special Needs Soccer Program began with me. I have a co-ed tournament in the spring to benefit autism and countless other positive impacts to the community. To creating the Evesham Celebrations Foundation, where we're the ones that plan and execute the Taste of Evesham. The 4th of July celebrations, which is the 5K run, the parades. The Harvest Fest, the Fall Festival, scholarships, food drives. Me, us, we, but I'm the instigator. To now serving as your township council person. It's always been about service to the community, good customer service to the community. Basically, volunteering my time to serve the residents of Evesham Township. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Nature abhors a vacuum. While attempting to get others involved, I dive right in to help. Remember, everyone has a backstory. My involvement with the planning board has always taken a customer service approach, As chair of that team, I was always explain the process step by step to the audience and provide information to ensure they have an understanding. The more information one has at their disposal, a more informed decision can occur. As a township council person, I take that same approach. Of course, I can only provide information. You have to interpret the information based on your own value system. My decisions are made with the information I have, along with my own personal value system. Again, we may agree to disagree. You know, social media is a great tool when used appropriately to share information. However, remember, much of those tools are soundbite driven. And when you provide information in sound bites, one can interpret that information, and perhaps not complete or comprehensive information, to perhaps forming their own narrative. In addition, the media, to me, is not appropriate for debating a given topic. Too much emotion, faceless emotion. Not enough ability to write a script when you have to write in sound bites in order to keep everyone's attention. I find it better to engage in a topic or debate in other ways, such as the phone or face-to-face. Recently, I provided a response to a question that was asked of me in one of those mediums. After composing what was deemed by my wife as a dissertation, I scaled back my response and provided my cell phone to anyone that would like to discuss that particular topic or other topics they have interest in. No calls. There was a comment posted on a certain page that stated the following: does anyone know how to communicate with our town officials or township manager? Website doesn't work for many, many months. We seem to have no way to leave a question. One interpretation can mean that this individual is angry, especially considering the follow-up comments from other folks that they don't want to hear from us. Fortunately, it turned out to be a browser issue with that individual. Quick to judge, quick to jump to conclusions without taking the time to understand. But what is their backstory? I do take offense to comments that I'm a petulant child, as noted in a recent editorial, or that we are not allowing others to speak. Just imagine that whisper down the line effect. Definitely a fascinating psychological experiment, if there was one. For those that judge without the backstory, the whole story, or any story, is slightly disappointing. However, I'm not faulting them. They are acting on the information they have available to them, irrespective of the medium that they receive that information. You all know that you can engage me on any topic. I actually can talk at great length on any given topic, much to others' chagrin or exhaustion. You should see me at MRC meetings and any other meetings that I happen to be involved with. Sometimes the challenge here is the fear of rants or heated discussions, debates from any side, which is not what the process has intended and what the community may not want. We do need to get back to that middle ground. However, I will continue to listen, to learn, to ask, to explain, and then to decide. Thank you.
Bobby D.
Mr. Mayor, you really expect me to follow that?
Yep.
Wow, thanks. Thanks, thanks, fellow council person.
Sir.
I didn't graduate from Lehigh. My college experience was interrupted by my need to pursue my curiosity of what it would be like having people shooting at me. I mean, that's the thought of a 19-year-old, so you can forgive me that indiscretion. But I want to tell you what I learned in 3.5 years in the Marine Corps, a year and a half of that being in the Middle East. And folks approach me sometime and ask me how I can take certain pressures, how I can engage the way I do from time to time and keep smiling. If you want to know about pressure, I'll tell you at another time because it gets very detailed, it's very nuanced, and it has to do with the Middle East. I take a backseat to no one in this room unless, of course, you live there like I did for a year and a half. When it comes to the Middle East, that's pressure. This is not pressure. This is a position that I knocked on. I estimate 5,000 doors. 5,000 doors. Is that about a third of the town, Mr. Mayor, as far as the residences?
Yep.
Not counting some of the apartments where we're not permitted. Some of the associations post signs that we're not allowed to knock on those doors. So, to the best of my ability, I'll follow up my council meeting. I don't have a prepared statement, but I have notes. And if it sounds like I'm skipping around, please indulge me because I am. I mean no disrespect to anybody in the room neither residents nor media. You probably heard me make reference to media by mentioning a couple of the folks that are covering this tonight. The only reason why I don't know the others is because either I don't know your name or I don't remember your name. When we started this meeting after the police left, we had 18 members of the public. 9 I count as personal friends, 5 I count as close acquaintances, and 4 faces I don't recognize at all. I apologize that I don't know every person in the room. But I know 14, and I suspect those 14 know me and know what I'm about. And this is not on my notes, but I really find it peculiar that, and correct me, anyone is welcome to stand up and say, Bob D., you're wrong. But correct me if I heard that somehow there's a flaw in me making myself available when out shopping with my wife or after church. If that's a flaw, I need to go back to finishing school and find out how I should not do that. So if anyone's offended with me having a conversation in ShopRite, while my wife has already gone through the checkout, and she's called me on the phone and asked, where are you? I'm still talking. And then if someone takes exception to me having a conversation after church, I guess maybe I should stop doing that. And I guess I should chase people away that come and sit next to me in church and ask me questions before and or after Mass. Wow. What a fault. I apologize for being so personally at fault. I didn't have that in my remarks, but I think it merits some comment. Mr. Gillespie, I need some counsel. Is this whole discussion a result of our tasking you with a manner in which we can systematically, professionally, in an organized, timely fashion, address the concerns, the questions, the comments of the public? Did we not task you with engaging in that function to correct and address the concerns of the public?
I think your question was, did this all not start with that? And I suspect that there may be other reasons as to how this got to the point it got to. I think it's a bit exaggerated, it's unfortunate. But yeah, we took a look at the difference between a public hearing and the public comment section of the Open Public Meetings Act, which requires governing bodies of municipalities and school boards to set aside a portion of every meeting for public comment on matters of concern to residents in that community. And frankly, the concerns can be related to the community, they can be related to Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech today, they can be related to anything. The statute doesn't limit the scope of the comments raised by the public. Is that what you're asking me?
Wow, I think so. I think that's more of an answer than I expected, but at this juncture, do we have a new format of how the meeting would be conducted and how the questions would be regarded, answered, referred, comments? Is there a new format that I'm unaware of that we've adopted?
No, there's no.
Or are we still in the discussion stage?
No, there's no new format.
Okay.
And I know that, and before I left the office to come over here, I think the AP site had something on there that public, council comments are banned, or public questions are banned in Evesham. And I read some headlines this week, and I wasn't here on February 17th at your council meeting, so unlike certain people in the press, I won't write about something that I didn't attend and didn't see personally. So I can't comment on what happened on February 17th. But I do know that on the meeting, when I gave my outline of what the law required and what your various options were, that there were folks who came to the microphone, and I think we had a conversation with them. So, for this being my 5th year back here, for the previous 4 years, there really was not much of an issue. It only came about fairly recently, and then it's morphed into this crazy stuff that I read in the paper about you can't speak in public in Evesham anymore, and
I mean, that's just not the truth. That's not what's going on here. The question posed was, what are the council's obligations and what is the difference between public comment, as I said earlier, and a public hearing, for example, on an ordinance? Or shortly before that meeting, we had the public hearing on the community development block grant funding, in which the public is allowed to ask questions and there are answers that are posed. And frequently the answers are given by the manager, the engineer, the solicitor, the finance director, the director of senior services and recreation, the director of public works. I don't know of any other town. I've been doing this for 31 years as a municipal attorney. I've had the privilege of serving 7 municipalities in different forms of government. I don't know any other town that has that many department heads and that many people of staff at a council meeting to answer the questions of the public. I didn't read that, by the way, in any of the newspapers this week, nor did I read it on any of the other sites. But it's a fact. It can't be argued.
All right, so in your legal opinion, and is there anyone else that has a law degree that can practice law that could counter anything that Mr. Gillespie said?
Not the format.
Okay, thank you. My intent was to make sure the residents know beyond any doubt, not a reasonable doubt, but beyond any doubt, that there are differences between fact and opinion. I think my councilmate covered that fairly well. And there is a distinct difference between comment and question. And there's also a distinct difference between discussion, dialogue, and open debate. I would wish to clarify those things, but I can thank Mr. Mills for using the word clarify, because that is, in the end, pretty much what it's all about, clarification. So thank you, Ken. Today, for whatever reason, the Philadelphia Inquirer decided to put our mayor in the same category as Benjamin Netanyahu and who's the Philly? Oh, Chase Utley. It's pretty good company. I mean, Mr. Netanyahu, Chase Utley, and another jock. That's pretty good. Above the fold, center of the front page for a municipality in South Jersey, not even in Philadelphia. I wonder what their focus is. Priorities, guys. Is it that important? Well, somebody thinks it is. Some editor thinks it is. Great. Gives us notoriety. Make no mistake about it. There's no one on this dais, and none of the township professionals wish to sneak around and hide and confuse or obfuscate and deny information to the public. That's not so. Thanks to coverage from the Marlin Sun, Councilman DeAndrea and I were recognized for, wow, actually answering residents' questions. So unless our coverage in the Marlin Sun was incorrect, we are answering questions. We are engaging in conversation with the public. But then if you didn't know the story, if you read the Burlington County Times, their editorial board has seen fit to say, and their words, no, kids, I can't do this anymore.
Good.
All right, so now you see me with glasses.
Glasses
All right.
on, Bobby D.
Turned 70 Saturday, Mr. Mayor.
That's
I'm
good.
entitled. Thank you. At the very least, residents should be encouraged to follow up with a council member following the meeting. At the very least. Isn't that what we do?
Listen,
Am I having an out-of-body experience?
What do you usually say at the end of every single meeting? What
Yeah,
do you say?
I'm available. I can't say that anymore because some folks don't like the fact that I've said I was available. But I checked with our township clerk, and the township clerk assures me that the records will indicate that almost at every meeting, I end with thanking the residents for showing up, thanking them for their interest, acknowledging that some people are uncomfortable speaking in public. If that's the case, approach me at the end of the meeting, and I'll answer all your questions to the best of my ability. And I'll stay here as long as I have to. I don't duck anybody. I don't hide from anybody. and I'm not trying to confuse anybody and keep secrets. And then during the meeting, if I can't answer a question properly, I refer it to township manager, council, another council member, township clerk, the appropriate chief of police, the appropriate individual that will give an accurate and timely answer. So I really don't know what the dust-up is and the fuss is with a couple of publications. And again, I mean no disrespect to the individuals covering these events. Here's another one for you to contemplate. In conversation with one of the editors, I won't name a name, I referred to a comment in their publication, letters may be edited for length, clarity, and taste. Wow. That means I won't even recognize something if I write it into one of these publications. Whose taste? What paragraph will you eliminate? Whose clarity? So that's another thing you could read if you ever cared to. And then probably one of the most short, sweet, to the point comments in another publication. This one's in the Courier. It's like social media or Facebook, where you can write any myth, rumor, or lie and not have to prove it. This is what the world of news media has become today. Wow. That sums up everything I tried to say. So thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for indulging me, and I'll remain after the meeting if anybody needs a question answered, and wish to make comments, and at which time they may further chastise me for answering questions at ShopRite or in church. So I'll report myself to the Monsignor and Mr. Ravitz. Thank you.
I have not read those articles. I haven't read Facebook ever. I don't do Twitter. So any of the feedback that I'm getting has all come secondhand, sometimes third-hand, okay? From a personal perspective, I don't think that anybody up here, or a collective perspective, I don't think anybody up here is trying to dissuade anybody from coming to a council meeting. On the contrary, I would like to see the ring full all the time, okay? So if there's been some information out there that we were somehow directed not to answer questions, I don't know how that could be construed, because I can tell you one thing, there's no way that that guy right there is going to tell that guy not to talk, that guy not to talk, that guy not to talk. You might be able to get me to say less. I'm not sure how, but those guys are going to do whatever they want, okay? So if there's some way that somebody has been, kind of twisted around that we're not going to answer questions, I apologize, okay? Because that's simply not the case. I mean, I've sat up here for over 4 years now, and I'm trying to think of a situation where a direct question was answered and there was not, a direct question was asked and there was not an answer given. Now, it may not have been right that second, okay, but we didn't realize that we were offending anybody at that point, okay? We go out of our way to answer questions almost 24 hours a day. I tell people all the time, jokingly, if you need me, my number's in the phone book. Just turn all the way to the back of the phone book. It's maybe 2 or 3 from the bottom. Easy to find. I answer my phone with my phone at home. I answer my phone at business. I answer my cell phone. Emails. I mean, we're always available. So if we need to be more available here in the meeting to answer a direct question, I apologize if we didn't do it. Okay? A lot of times I answer a question by going to somebody's house the next day. Okay? So if we offended somebody, I'm sorry, but we have a meeting that has to be conducted here, and we're certainly not about trying to dissuade people from coming to council meetings. We're not trying to dissuade people from making comments, okay? And like I said, I haven't read either one of those articles. I don't read Facebook, so the comments and the reaction that I'm getting has been secondhand. I'm still here.
All right, we're good? All right. All righty. Mary Lou, does your office get phone calls on a daily basis from residents asking questions?
Sure.
Does your office get residents that come in every day asking for something?
Yes.
Yes. Lori, when you were here, and you've been here how many years now?
17.
17. Has there ever been one day that you've come to work for 8 hours and you've not received one resident call or one resident to come into the building? Not one day, okay? Your phone works. We know the phone works. Your emails work, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And anybody in the public wishing to get a hold of you can just go to the website or come in here or call you, correct?
That's correct.
Monica, you're down at the Gibson House, correct? All right. Do you get phone calls on a daily basis from residents? Okay. Do you have residents come in the Gibson House on a daily basis? Okay. Do you have residents call you when they're signing up for programs? Okay. Do you have residents that come in and deal with your staff, whether it's camps or other events?
Yes.
All right. Would you say that happens almost on a daily basis? Do you get emails on a daily basis from residents? Okay. Does your staff get emails on a regular basis? Okay. Chief Chu, Police Department, 50,000 people. Is it safe to say that you have your officers interact with residents on a daily basis?
20%.
Okay. Is it safe to say that you have residents either call, email, or ask questions to your organization on a daily basis?
Right.
Okay. Do you guys try to respond on a rather timely manner? Okay. Tom Cole, you're in charge of the DPW. Does you and your department receive resident calls on a daily basis?
Absolutely.
Okay. Does when your DPW workers are out in the community, are at times they ask questions?
Sure.
Yes. At times are they asked to perform a service by a resident while they're out there on the road?
What we do.
Okay. You personally, do you answer every single phone call and every single email you personally? Okay. Does Mike Roseman answer calls? Does Lenore answer calls?
Everyone in the office.
Everybody in the office answers calls.
Some sort of message.
Okay. Can somebody get a hold of you by an email?
Sure.
Okay. Can somebody get a hold of you by a text message?
Something about that.
Okay.
Certainly email.
Okay. Where's Nancy? Nancy not here? All right, Tom, now I'll ask you the questions. Tom, as township manager of Evesham Township, you've been township manager on and off for 8 years. All for, unfortunately, a short period of your time. Do you have questions raised to you on a daily basis by residents? Does your office handle residents on a daily basis? Does the registrar handle residents on a pretty much daily basis? Okay. Do you get emails at times on a daily basis as a township manager? Okay. Now let's talk to the Department of Community Affairs. Does the Department of Community Affairs get resident questions on a daily basis, would you think?
Probably more than anyone else.
Does the Department of Community Affairs take residents that are actually come into the building because they're asking for permits or other things? Would you say that happens on a daily basis? Okay. And how big is that staff about in the department? What does it keep saying?
Community development.
Community development, community affairs. I was talking to the state today on community affairs. Okay, community development. Now, as a community development, they have inspectors, correct? All right, do those inspectors go out on a daily basis? Do those inspectors interact with the local residents on a daily basis? Yes, okay. Let's go to the tax office. Do you think the tax office gets phone calls from residents on a daily basis? Okay. Do you think residents go into the tax collector's office on a daily basis? Yes. Do you think the tax assessor gets phone calls on a daily basis? Yes. Okay. Now let's go to the golf course. We still own a golf course. At the golf course, do you believe, when it's not snowing, of course, that on a daily basis residents go into the golf course?
How can he answer
Yeah.
that?
Would you agree that residents go in on a daily basis to the restaurant over there? Okay. So do we have employees at the Indian Springs? Yes, we do. And they handle residents' questions, comments, concern on a daily basis. Correct. Okay. How many departments do we have again?
600.
About? About a dozen departments. How many employees?
About 200.
Okay. So it's safe to say, I mean, it's hard to even say a number, we probably get thousands of residents' questions, comments, concerns, complaints on a monthly basis, when we do daily. Is that safe to say? Now, in all the places that you've been, tell me about your interaction with the community here. How do you think your staff interacts with the community? You do it well? What's your thoughts?
In my job, I typically handle those things that can't be resolved at the departmental level, the employee level, the departmental level. And I would say for a community this size, I have a stellar group of department heads who are able to address, not all, but most problems.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So far, step one is we've been able to show that residents' questions are asked, answered on a daily basis in the amounts of thousands a month. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about some facts now. Okay? Fact is, I've sat here as mayor for 8 years, moving anywhere between, all due respect, I really appreciate when you guys were speaking, there was no back, so I appreciate what I call some formality out there as far as being nice and listen, please. Okay, so 8 years, I know I've sat through anywhere between 160 and 200 meetings. I try to get that number down. I don't know the exact amount. It is my opinion, since some of you have come up here and stated your opinion today, it is my opinion that this is 100% politically motivated. So how do I know that? I know that by facts. So let's go through the facts. Since December, who has come out to speak public comment at the council meeting? We've had Mr. Mills. Mr. Mills has supported my opponent all 4 elections that I've been in. 2007, when I approached Mr. Mills on his front lawn, Mr. Mills told me, don't come on my front lawn, I'm supporting Gus Tamburo. Mr. Mills walked in 2010 at the Taste of Evesham with Pat Haynes shirts up and down Main Street. We know Mr. Mills has done nothing but supporting my opponents. Ro Bernardi, she has been up to speak multiple times. We know Ro's past. We know that she is a liberal Democrat that is obviously an opponent of mine. Sharon Schmidt is an opponent of mine, of course. Her husband ran against me in 2010. Phil Warren in the back lost this past year in an election against us by more than 30 points. Ms. Sanferrero, who spoke at the last meeting, lost her school board seat to Barry Fitzgerald, who I supported. So when you look at the only people who have come up here in the last 3 months, and anyone that can say it's not politically motivated, that is facts, what I just listed there. So, let's go through this. Since I've been your mayor, Walton Circle was redone. We've undergone a massive redevelopment plan. Ratables went up $35 million this past year. We were able to put together an organization for the Cherokee turf field called Cherokee Champions that all of us in front of you had a hand in being part of. Cherokee High School has just been a wonderful partner with us. It was a partnership that didn't exist before we took over in 2007. We bonded for Memorial Turf, which has seen thousands and thousands of our children play and enjoy on a daily basis. We've put together a brand new playground which is enjoyed by hundreds and hundreds of children on a monthly basis. We've bought senior buses. We've paved dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of miles of roads throughout the 8 years we've sat up here. We have beautified communities by the improvement of the roads, also by fixing their sidewalks, making it safer for their children to walk to school and ride their bicycles. We partnered with the school district and brought the art show here. We partnered with our MUA in levels of which I can't even begin to speak of how many tax dollars that has saved year after year after year. Once again, a partnership that didn't exist until we sat up here. My councils have kept taxes flat, and as of last year, even reduced property taxes. When I took over in 2007, we had a $5 million deficit. Here we are, a short 7 budget years later, and we are over $5 million in surplus. When Joe Fizzicara and I stood up top of Cherokee High School a couple Augusts ago, August of 2007, and he said, Mayor, wouldn't it be great to have the fireworks here and have our celebrations here? The fireworks at Cherokee High School has remodeled the way that our community comes together. We've created the Mayor's 5K race, which even our solicitor, John Gillespie, has found a way to run and at times finish, even with we didn't expect him to do so. It is a day of which you can get out there and be with your friends. It's a day of which community comes together. At the parade, or prior to the parade, we have hundreds and hundreds of our young boys and girls decorate their bikes for the kids' parade. After that, we have anywhere between 60 and 70 entrants in the parade. The parade, which is, of course, always led by Cherokee High School, with a salute to our soldiers. Since we've been elected officials in Evesham, we brought to you the Taste of Evesham. Yet again, another day which community can get together. We've worked with the Center for the Arts and have now taken the Fall Festival, better known as Harvest Fest, in. Yet again, another day where community comes together. We were fortunate enough when Tom's first go around with us that he was named Township Manager of the Year. 566 municipalities, and we had the gentleman who was named Township Manager of the Year. We're fortunate enough where that our Township Attorney has just won yet another award. One of his many awards that he would never brag to about, but awards of which shows that we have the best Township Manager in the state of New Jersey, a Township Attorney in the state of New Jersey. This council helped build the Diamonds, the foremost #1 baseball softball facility in the state of New Jersey. How do we know that? Because we've won awards, multiple awards. We created the 9/11 Memorial, which might be the finest work that we've ever done as an organization. Police, we talked about it earlier. We have a police department which is now in the top 1% in the United States of America. Not in New Jersey, but in the United States of America. We've shown leadership with body cameras. Now all of a sudden the LAPD, as of last night, saying, well, I want 7,000 body cameras. We've been the leader in video cameras in cars. Now we have laws in New Jersey which are trying to make sure every cop car has a video camera. A few years ago, our summer camp got the award as the best summer camp in the state of New Jersey. Within the last 7 years, we brought Relay for Life, which Relay for Life, once again, brings community together, is turning out to be one of the stellar landmarks of Marlton. We continue to grow the Winterfest. Our relationships with the fire department, Lemke Regional High School, it's hard to put adjectives next to them because they've become so good and we rely on each other because we're all partners in this together. Been part of ECF, which has given many, many scholarships out to deserving young men and women. I've personally made tens of thousands of dollars in donations to nonprofit organizations. I'm a coach, not professionally. I'm a coach of my girls, Ryan and Mackenzie. I coach Ryan Mackenzie's softball teams, basketball teams, soccer teams. Show up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. I'm over at the Diamonds, getting the grass ready for T-ball. Getting the dirt ready for T-ball. Go to a Cherokee football game with me. See what that's like. My opinion again. Residents speak in elections. And the residents rejected resoundingly our opponents and their message in November, to the point of the largest margin of victory in town's history, 30 points. That's what the residents want. They speak at elections. They don't speak through those who've lost elections. In 8 years up here, I agree with my partner to my left. I've never read so many articles that were based on fiction and not fact. I question the journalistic integrity of those who wrote them, and I don't know how you can write an article and never have been in a meeting. I don't know how you can write an article and never gotten a quote from any of us. But they did. So, I am asked on a daily, hourly basis, questions, comments, concerns, via text, email, phone calls, or in person. There's not a place I go, whether I go to Franco's at lunchtime, or go to Sal's at lunch, or go to Salad Works at dinner, or pick my girls up for dance, or coaching basketball, or coaching soccer, or going to Cherokee football games. There's not a time and place that I'm out there that I'm not interacting with our residents. I take offense to anyone that says that we don't answer questions. Because my entire life as mayor has been answering questions, comments, and concerns. And the reason that I read all those off, the reason I read all those things off, none of them got us on the top of the fold of the Philadelphia Inquirer. None of them. We have executive session? Okay. All right. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.